We've all heard it, right? Just draw more and you're going to improve. You're going to get better. Well, that advice is not exactly clear, okay? It's nonsense, it's BS, to be honest, if you don't know what you're doing. Because if you're just drawing mindlessly and drawing a lot, right, putting in the hard work, but you don't know what you're doing, you're going to really hurt your progress. You're going to hurt your improvement, and it's going to set you back. You're going to waste your time. So in this video, I want to make sure that you don't do that, or you stop doing that, and you understand how to go forward and improve art, become a professional artist, or just get really good. All right. Hey, I'm Tyler, and welcome to Novice Batia. I'm a freelance concept designer, and my mission here, my goal and mission, is to fuel and inspire your creativity through concept design and drawing. So let's break down in this video why just draw a lot and you'll get good is complete bullshit. Okay, and hang around, because at the end I want to go over a quick little roadmap that hopefully and I believe will help you to improve and get better. So let's get into it. So let's start with the big myth. Okay, draw a lot and you'll get good. You hear it a lot, right? Draw more. The idea is if you put in the hours, the mileage, the skill is going to follow. All right, just draw a lot and you'll get good. That does have some truth to it. Drawing more does help, but only if you're actually learning something in the process. Okay, so if all you're doing is mindlessly copying references, or repeating the same doodles over and over, it's not really growth. It's not going to help you grow that much or improve. You're just reinforcing your current level, okay? The skill doesn't magically appear with just time, okay? It comes from focused and intentional work. This is something that it took me a few months to understand when I first started learning to draw. Focused, intentional, smart practice. Okay. Without structure, you're going to be spinning your wheels, and the real improvement comes from knowing what to study. Okay, how to study it, doing that consistently every day, even if it's just 30 minutes. Right? The truth is that quantity, okay, without the direction, is going to lead you nowhere. Okay, you're going to be going nowhere because you're putting in the hard work, you're putting in that grind, but you have no direction. You don't know where you're going, so you're going to get nowhere. You can draw for hours and hours every day. I did just that at the beginning. It was exhausting. I thought I was improving, but then after a month, two, I was like, okay, I'm not getting anywhere. If you're not focusing on the right things, okay, like gesture, form, spatial awareness, perspective, you're going to keep circling that same level, and you're going to get angry, you're going to get frustrated, and you might even give up or completely burn out. Okay, so you want that intentional learning. It always beats aimless repetition every time. If you draw the same mistakes, you're just going to get better at being bad. You're going to get better at making those mistakes. And it's not your fault, because you might not know. I've been there. And to be honest, I'm not immune to it anymore. I just have the experience where I can spot it early on if I'm making a mistake or if things doesn't look right. Like I said, I've been there. Okay, I've been there, and I grind for hours. I was thinking that effort alone, hard work alone is the thing that's going to get me to success, going to get me to the top of that mountain. Okay. But the truth is that I plateaued, and I got frustrated, and I got angry because I wasn't seeing that progress. I wasn't seeing that improvement, but I was putting in the grind. I was putting in the hours. You have to sprinkle in smart work. Okay. You have to sprinkle in intentional and focused work. So let's talk about, why you might not be improving, right? So drawing without learning, it's like going to the gym. Okay. If you go to the gym and you're lifting weights, okay, you're curling weights, you're putting in that grind, you're putting in the effort, and you're putting in the hard work. But let's say you have really bad form. You're going to make minimal gains, and you're probably going to wreck your joints. Okay. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to injure yourself. All right. So let's not do that. And let's figure out how to do this properly. You need structure. Okay. You need to know what to practice, how to practice it, and then when to move on, when to go to the next thing. That's what actually improves your skills. Okay. It's not mindless or blind repetition. It's not grinding it until your wrist and arm hurts. It's focused, intentional practice. when you focus on one thing at a time, like gesture drawing, perspective, form, or spatial awareness, you start building real control over your growth, real control over your improvement, your progress as a designer, as an artist, and as a professional. Okay, so you really need to understand what, it's a real understanding. Okay, the real understanding, and that's when you see the real improvement. It's when you really understand the structure and how to improve your art. So let's talk about the roadmap real quick. Here's the roadmap I basically wish someone gave me a bit earlier on, instead of 2-3 months into learning, I wasted time. So the first one, it's a bit of a cliche. Okay, it's learn the fundamentals, but stick with me, right? You want to start simple. Don't rush into drawing, flashy characters and complex scenes right away. I did that. I tried anyway, and I got humbled pretty quickly. Okay, let me know in the comments if you've been humbled by thinking that you can, draw something or design something, and then you're like, oh crap, I can't. Okay, that was me at the beginning. I was like, I can draw characters. Yeah, I can design a character. Let's go. And then I was like, oh, maybe I can't. I need to improve. It's all right. So I know it's hard. Okay, it's not. I was the same, right? It definitely slowed me down. You want to break everything down into core fundamentals, let's call it. You want to focus on mastering the things like gesture, if you want to do character and creature design especially. Proportion is basically good for everything. Perspective, very important in everything. But if you're doing hard surface drawing, vehicles and planes, stuff like that, perspective really comes into play. And then of course, form and line control is something that you're going to need no matter what. Form is basically understanding of 3D space, 3D shapes. And then another thing is spatial awareness, which is understanding the relation between 3D forms, okay? You can have a square and a box. A square is a 2D shape, right? And a box is a 3D form. You want to treat each study session like, sharpening your tools, okay? Let's say you're a hunter, you got to sharpen your spear, you got to sharpen your knife, because it makes your work easier and more efficient, okay? When you get that kill, when you get that animal, if your knife's sharp, it's quicker, it's more efficient, it's easier, it's less effort, okay? That's what learning your fundamentals is. It's sharpening your tools. Because strong fundamentals, they give you the freedom to create anything you can imagine later on, right? Any character, tank, spaceship, environment, whatever it is. If you know your fundamentals really, really well, and you learned them and you're basically a pro at them, you can draw anything you want. You can basically design anything you want, even though design is a separate skill we'll get into later on. And this is basically more focused on drawing specifically. But the cooler your basics, the stronger your final designs, okay, will be. So slow down and go deep and trust that you're laying the groundwork for a powerful, okay, and confident. You're going to get powerful, you're going to get confident, your art's going to stand out. Think of it like this saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? It was built brick by brick by brick. And that is it. Okay, step 2, you want to practice with purpose. Okay, this is what we spoke about a little bit at the beginning of the video, but before each session, ask yourself, what am I trying to get better at today? Set clear goals. Whether it's mastering gesture, improving line quality, understanding proportions, or nailing perspective, focused and practice. It drives real growth. Okay, that's how you improve. There is time for mindlessly sketching and drawing and just having fun. And please don't forget to have fun with your art. It's something that I forgot to do, and I just grinded it out for 2 years, and I almost burnt out. And it was very close for me, and I had to take a bit of a couple of weeks just to recenter myself, refocus, recharge. But don't burn yourself out. Have fun with your art. Remember to, during your study sessions, in between studying, do some projects to reinforce those skills, reinforce what you're learning. All right. Draw to understand the principles behind what you're doing. Think about the volumes, the flow, the form, and like I said, spatial awareness. These spatial relationships between the forms. Every line that you put down should have a purpose, right? There should be a reason. When you draw with intention, every session, it becomes an opportunity to stack skills and knowledge that actually stick in your brain, rather than just wasting hours reinforcing those same mistakes. And step 3 is to be consistent. Okay, you don't need to draw 6 hours every day, even though I did that and do that. You don't have to do that if you can't and you want to improve still at art. You just need to show up consistently every day. Okay, 30 minutes, 1 hour every single day. It's going to be better than 10, 15 hours on the weekend and then nothing during the week. It's better just to show up 30 minutes a day, do some sketching, some focused practice for 30 minutes. It's going to be better. And finally, you want to reflect, you want to review, and you want to repeat. Okay, take time each week to look at your progress. Don't just power through sketch after sketch without stopping. Okay, a lot of this advice is coming from my personal experience. Okay, so that's something I used to do, but I'm telling you, don't do that. Okay, don't just power through sketch after sketch. Pause and generally, reflect. Look for patterns. What's consistently working, which is very important. Most people think that you just need to look at what you're weak at, but you also need to look at what you're strong at, so that you know not to put too much time into that, but put more time into things that you are weak at. Okay, and again, look at where you're struggling. Identify your weak points so you can plan your next study session, all right, around those weak points, rather than accidentally putting in some strong points because it's comfort zone, or it's you just didn't know that it's really your strong point. You want to make sure that it's just your weak points in that study session. Track your wins, even if they're small ones. Okay, track every win. Put your drawings up, date them, put them next to each other, look at your old drawings, see how you're improving, how you're getting better, because it's going to motivate you to keep going. Okay, and there is a superpower that you need to learn. If you weren't born with it, then you need to learn it, and that's self-awareness. It's a superpower. It transforms an amateur into a professional. Honestly, growth doesn't just happen through mindless mileage. You need to be able to critique your work. You need to be able to go back on things and redo them, and not just sometimes people think it's arrogance when they're like, oh yeah, but it's really good, I think it's really good. Sometimes it isn't arrogance. Sometimes it's they just don't have self-awareness and they don't see the bad things about it, and it's not always somebody's fault. But yeah, be self-aware. Really look at your stuff. Look at your work with a critical eye, but don't bully yourself. You know what I mean? If I kind of understand that. You don't want to bully yourself and call yourself bad things because you did a drawing bad or a design bad. Just, look at what went right, look at what went wrong. And in your next design, in the next drawing, improve on that. Okay? So again, no mindless mileage. Okay? It happens by learning from every single session. Making tiny improvements, that saying of making 1% progress or improvement every day, that's art. Okay, and adjusting your approach based on the real feedback from your own work. And also, if you can, get feedback from your peers, get feedback from people who are better than you, who are ahead of you in years, in skill, in profession, in their career. And another thing is, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Novospatia, because I'm trying to build a community that can just do just that. I want a community of artists and designers that can all help each other. We can really just get together, critique each other, feedback each other, give paintovers, and really improve, help each other grow and improve as designers and artists and professionals. Okay, look, I'm not saying that hard work doesn't matter. Hard work is very important, but there's a difference between hard work and mindless hard work. If you want to get really good, if you want to become a professional, you have to also work smart. You've got to sprinkle in some smart work, sprinkle in some hard work, and just focused, intentional studying. That's the way forward. Okay, so if this video helped you, it gave you clarity, and you felt like you got value from the information in this video, then please do like and subscribe. Again, like I just said, I'm trying to build a badass community of artists that can really help each other to improve, give each other feedback. I have big plans for the channel, and those big plans happen because of you guys. So subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope to help you on your art journey. Bye bye.